David Iredale, and we're here in the sculpture gallery in the Corn Exchange in Leeds. I started sculpting about 15 years ago. I saw an advert in the Yorkshire Sculpture Park and applied for a place on a course there. I did some wood carving and some stone carving at various courses at the sculpture park and carried on accordingly. I have a little studio at home now which I work from, and we got together in 2021, put together a big exhibition of sculpture in the Corn Exchange here, and then we opened this gallery. So the gallery is owned by 4 sculptors: myself, Steve Williams, Mandy Long and Pete Donnelly. So we have our work in here. We also have a guest artist each month, and it just keeps it alive, keeps things moving, and it makes it interesting. An engineer, I trained with the YEB and I became an electrical engineer and spent my life in engineering. The art side of it didn't really come into it till about probably 30 years ago, when I was in my 40s, and I just started drawing and got interested in that. I went to an art class at the local school and took it from there really. I got more interested in drawing than painting, and I started doing a lot of life drawing, and got to the stage where my wife and I started a life drawing group, Bare Canvas, which we run at the Fenton near the university in Leeds, and we have another one in Oakwood. So we run life drawing groups, and really when I started carving, the body became the main subject. It was the thing that I was really interested in, and it became the subject of my sculpture as well as my drawings. When I'm working in stone or in wood, I will normally make a clay maquette, so I might work from photographs or drawings, or I could work from a live model, and I will usually make a maquette, and from that then that gives me the basis to work on the final piece, whether it be in wood or stone. So this is a piece of mine. It's in Ancaster limestone, and it's a representation of Theseus and the Minotaur horn. It's, as I say, it's a piece of Ancaster limestone. The horn has been polished, but the hand has not. So it just makes it a little more interesting. It looks like 2 different sorts of stone, but it's just the one piece. That piece weighed about 75 kilos when I first started. It now weighs 17, and it comes on the wooden base. The inspiration is really the wonderful books of Stephen Fry in Mythos, the Heroes and the Trojan War. Having read those, I really got interested in the Greek gods and the stories behind it. And the idea of this was when Theseus had fought the Minotaur, and the Minotaur's horn broke, and he killed the Minotaur with its own horn. Is Antonia Salmond, and she's a Sheffield sculptor working in ceramics, and these are her beautiful pieces. They're representing the waves and the wind. These two pieces are by Steve Williams, who was one of the 4 that owned the gallery. This translucent piece is a piece of brown alabaster. It's a wonderful piece where the light comes through and gives you a real feeling of the flames. And this is a piece that he worked on in Italy. It's pure statuario Carrara marble, and he worked using the ancient way of transferring an image from either a plaster or clay maquette, or even an old sculpture, to make it into a new piece of marble. And the idea is it's a process called pointing, where a frame is applied to the original and a point goes to any set point on the skin or on the model, and is then transferred onto the new marble. And over 150 or 200 different points, you end up being able to get an exact copy of the original.
Must take long to make.
It's a very long, drawn out process, but it's one that's been used for hundreds of years. These wonderful pieces are by MANDY who's another one of our the 4 that own the gallery, and her work is quite often involved with dance or some sort of sport, and the expression and the movement within the figures is just amazing. They are raku fired paper clay. And finally, of the 4 of us, Pete Donnelly's work is incredibly detailed terracotta or ceramic, and the expressions that he has on the faces are just exquisite. Another piece by Antonia Salmond, and another piece by Pete Donnelly. I wouldn't like to guess what the story is behind him. Pete comes up with the most amazing characters, and they are the expressions, the faces, the detail are just wonderful. He is at the moment surrounded by 2 of my wooden pieces, 2 of my torsos. The one on the left is a piece of cedar, and the one on the right is a piece of oak. More of Mandy's dancers, and some more of Pete's little sketches up at the top there.
So what is the process you're going through?
It's again starting with a clay maquette and then just simply transferring it by eye to a piece of timber, and just by means of taking away the wood until we reveal what's left effectively. It's not an easy thing to explain what I do, simply it just you just there's a lot of measuring goes on between the maquette and the final piece. And three of Pete's pieces, which the young window cleaner was done for another exhibition that Pete put it into, and again some more of Mandy's dancers. Okay, there are three of Steve's pieces here. One is a piece of Purbeck marble, and it's a wonderful piece of stone where in the Purbeck Valley was originally a river bottom, a river delta, and over the years the snails get washed down the river, land in the mud, and 150 million years later the stone that is of the compacted mud produces these wonderful shells inside the stone. So it's not strictly speaking a marble, it is more of a limestone. But this is a piece of alabaster, although it looks like a piece of wood, and it's simply a shape that Steve has developed using the beautiful striations in the wood, in the stone that represent the wood. And this amazing piece of sculpting is a piece of brown alabaster that Steve has produced, and it represents like an Indian guru, a sadhu, who is like an Indian holy man.
Is it from a rock?
Hmm?
What material is that?
That's brown alabaster. After I retired just before COVID, in the December before COVID hit, in the February, March. So I personally had a wonderful lockdown where I was gardening, drawing, sculpting, painting. And then after lockdown is when I put the exhibition together, which was the Sculpture Show North, where I got together 16 sculptors and 102 pieces of sculpture in the Corn Exchange. And that's where I got to know Pete, Mandy and Steve. And as I say, we felt that it would be a really wonderful place to open a gallery. And 6 months later, we were in here. yeah, in terms of what inspires me as a sculptor and artist is the human body, the form, just the movement, the whole. I just love working with the body, whether it's in drawing or in sculpting, and it's just such a wonderful, moving thing that you to capture that in stone is, or in wood, is really inspiring. Also, now we're doing stone carving courses, where we do a 2-day course where people can get to learn to use the tools and the material. We're using Ancaster limestone, which is the same as this piece that I've made, and they'll have a block of stone, block of Ancaster limestone, and we teach them form and edge to carve and get the hang of the ancient art of carving. It's a fascinating hobby and something fairly simple that people can take up at home.